Thanksgiving at the Harrison household was always an exercise in humiliation. Every year, my family gathered to compare achievements, measure successes, and remind me of my apparent failures. But this year was different. This year, I knew something they didn't. Madison's still working at that tiny investment firm. My sister Vanessa announced to the assembled family, wine glass dangling from her manicured fingers. What's it called again, Mads? Cornerstone something? I took a slow sip of water, hiding my smile. Just Cornerstone Partners. Right, she smirked. The boutique firm. How quaint. What my family didn't know was that Cornerstone Partners was mine. I'd founded it 3 years ago, and we now managed over $2 billion in assets. But they all thought I was just another employee, grinding away at a small-time operation. I'd never corrected their assumption. At least she's employed, my mother sighed, adjusting her pearls. Though I don't understand why you won't come work for Harrison Global. Your father could make you a VP tomorrow. Ah, Harrison Global. The family company. My father's pride and joy. Built over 30 years into a respectable mid-sized investment firm. They handled about $500 million in assets, a quarter of what Cornerstone managed. But they didn't know that. I'm happy where I am, Mom. Happy? My brother Derek scoffed from across the table. Making what, 80 grand a year? While we're closing multi-million-dollar deals. I thought about the $80 million deal sitting on my desk back at the office. The one that would determine Harrison Global's future. But we'd get to that soon enough. Not everyone needs a corner office to be successful, I said mildly, helping myself to more turkey. That's because you've never had one, Vanessa laughed. Remember when Madison thought she could start her own firm? Right out of business school. The family chuckled at the memory. 3 years ago, fresh from my MBA at Wharton, I'd announced my intention to strike out on my own. Their reaction had been immediate and brutal. You'll never succeed, Dad had declared. You don't have the killer instinct. No connections. No real experience. You'll crawl back within 6 months. Instead, I'd done something they never expected. I'd succeeded, quietly, efficiently, and completely under their radar. How is Dad's big merger going? I asked, changing the subject. The one with Summit Technologies? Derek preened. Biggest deal in Harrison Global's history. $80 million. Once it closes next month, we'll be playing in the big leagues. I nodded, thinking about the thick folder of documents in my office safe. The ones that would determine whether that merger lived or died. Speaking of business, my father spoke up. Madison, this stubborn independence of yours has gone on long enough. Harrison Global is family. We take care of our own. I met his eyes across the table. Do we, Dad? Is that what we do? He frowned at my tone. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I smiled, just remembering how supportive everyone was when I wanted to start my own firm. Oh, not this again. Vanessa rolled her eyes. We were trying to protect you from failure. You should be grateful. Grateful? I set down my fork. For what? The constant criticism? The undermining? The bets you all made on how quickly I'd fail? Now, Madison, my mother started, but I wasn't finished. Did you know I heard you all at that Christmas party 3 years ago, laughing about how I'd never make it, betting on whether I'd last 3 months or 6? The table fell silent. Even Derek had the grace to look uncomfortable. That was a long time ago, Dad said gruffly. We were concerned about you. No, you were concerned about appearances, about what people would say if a Harrison failed publicly. I stood up. Thank you for dinner, Mom. I have an early meeting tomorrow. With your little investment firm? Vanessa couldn't resist one last dig. Any big deals coming up? I paused at the door, thinking about the Summit Technologies merger documents, about how Harrison Global's future rested on my signature. You never know, I said softly. Business is full of surprises. The next morning, in my actual office, a corner suite on the top floor of downtown's most prestigious building, I reviewed the merger paperwork again. Harrison Global needed this deal. They'd leveraged everything on it, betting the firm's future on this one massive acquisition. What they didn't know was that Summit Technologies was one of Cornerstone's key clients. Any major moves required my approval. Ms. Harrison, my assistant Sophie appeared at the door. Your 9 a.m. is here. The Summit Technologies board. I straightened my Armani blazer, not that my family would recognize the subtle tailoring. They still thought I shopped at department stores. Send them in. The Summit board filed in, led by their CEO, James Morton. He smiled when he saw me. One of the few people who knew the true scope of my success. Madison, he shook my hand warmly. Always a pleasure. Though I suspect this meeting won't be pleasant for everyone involved. The Harrison Global merger? I sat down behind my desk. No, I expect not. They have no idea, do they? He settled into one of the leather chairs. That their crucial deal requires their failure daughter's approval. I pulled out the merger documents. They're about to find out. James leaned forward. You know, they approached us 6 months ago, so confident. Your brother especially practically guaranteed the deal was done. When I mentioned we had other advisors, they didn't even ask who. Derek never was big on due diligence. I started reviewing the terms. They're offering $80 million. And it's worth at least $120. I set down the papers. They're trying to underpay by $40 million, James. I can't let that happen to one of our clients. He nodded. I assumed you'd say that. What's our next move? I picked up my phone. Sophie, please call Harrison Global. Tell them we need an emergency meeting about the Summit Technologies merger. Today. Playing your hand? James asked. Time to show my cards. I looked out at the city skyline, the same view my father had always bragged about from his office, though mine was 10 floors higher. They wanted me to join the family business. They just didn't expect it would happen like this. An hour later, Sophie's voice came through the intercom. Harrison Global executives are here. Your father, brother, and sister. I straightened the merger documents on my desk. Send them in. The door opened, and I watched their expressions shift from confusion to shock as they took in my office. The view, the furniture, the clear trappings of serious success. Madison? My father stopped short. What? What is this? This, I gestured around. This is Cornerstone Partners, my investment firm. The one you said would never succeed. Derek's face had gone pale. You own Cornerstone. Founded it. Built it. Turned it into one of the most successful private investment firms in the city. I smiled. And as it happens, Summit Technologies is one of our most valued clients. The blood drained from my father's face as understanding dawned. No. Yes. I held up the merger documents. Your $80 million deal, it needs my signature. The silence that followed was deafening. 3 years of mockery, dismissal, and condescension had led to this moment. The family that said I'd never succeed was about to learn just how wrong they'd been. And this was only the beginning. My father was the first to recover from the shock, his business instincts kicking in. Madison, he said, forcing a smile. Why didn't you tell us? This is impressive. Impressive. I raised an eyebrow. Yesterday at Thanksgiving, you were all still mocking my little investment job. What change? The office? The view? Or the fact that I hold the future of Harrison Global in my hands? Vanessa stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Come on, Mads. We're family. All that stuff before, we were just teasing. Teasing. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an old recorder. Let's refresh our memories, shall we? I pressed play. Their voices from 3 years ago filled the room. She'll never make it 6 months. Derek's voice. Who would trust her with their money? Vanessa's laughter. She lacks the killer instinct. No Harrison Drive. Dad's dismissal. I stopped the recording. I kept this as motivation. Every time I doubted myself, I'd play it. Remember what you all thought of me. It worked better than any pep talk. That was a long time ago, Derek protested weakly. Really? Because just yesterday you were all still treating me like a failure. I stood up, walking to the window. Do you know what Cornerstone's assets under management are? They shook their heads. $2 billion. 4 times what Harrison Global manages. I turned back to face them. That little investment firm you've been mocking? We're one of the top performers in the market. My father sank into one of the chairs, looking suddenly old. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? Or would you have found some way to dismiss it, like you dismissed everything else I've ever achieved? But the Summit Technologies deal, Derek interrupted, his face flushed. We've been working on this for months. Yes, trying to underpay by $40 million. I picked up the merger documents. Did you really think James Morton wouldn't have his own advisors looking out for his interests? James Morton. Vanessa's eyes widened. He knew. All this time? I smiled. He's been a client since I started Cornerstone. He found it quite amusing when Harrison Global approached him, so confident they'd get a bargain. We need this deal, my father said quietly. Harrison Global is leveraged on this acquisition. I know. I sat back down at my desk. I've seen your books. You've bet everything on this merger. If it falls through, you'll lose half your clients. Maybe more. The silence that followed was heavy with realization. They were completely at my mercy. What do you want? Derek asked, his usual arrogance replaced by desperation. Want? I laughed softly. What makes you think this is a negotiation? Madison, please. My father leaned forward. Whatever happened in the past, we're still family. Family? I pressed a button on my intercom. Sophie, please send in Mr. Morton. James walked in, nodding cordially to my stunned family members before taking a seat. James has an interesting story about how this deal came about, I said. Would you like to share, James? He smiled. When Derek here first approached us, he was quite aggressive. Insisted that we'd never get a better offer than Harrison Global's. Said we'd be foolish not to take it immediately. Derek shifted uncomfortably. What Derek didn't know, James continued, was that I was having dinner with Madison that same night. We had a good laugh about it. You've been playing us, Vanessa accused. No, I've been protecting my client's interests. I stood up. Harrison Global's offer is $40 million below market value. That's not happening. We can't go higher, my father said. The financing won't allow it. I know. I pressed another button on my intercom. Sophie, send in the Cornerstone proposal. My assistant entered with another set of documents, distributing them to everyone in the room. "What's this?" Derek asked, flipping through the pages. "A counteroffer," I said. "Cornerstone Partners will finance the additional $40 million in exchange for a 30% stake in Harrison Global." The explosion was immediate. "Absolutely not," Derek shouted. "Out of the question," Vanessa snapped. But my father was silent, reading through the terms carefully. He understood what they didn't. This was their only way out. "If you refuse," I said calmly, "I'll have to advise James to decline Harrison Global's offer. His fiduciary duties require him to seek full market value. Your over-leveraged position becomes public knowledge. Your clients start pulling out. You destroy your own family's company." Vanessa asked incredulously. "You mean like how you tried to destroy my dreams of starting my own firm?" I met her eyes. "The difference is, I'm offering you a lifeline. You just have to swallow your pride and take it." James cleared his throat. "For what it's worth, I think it's a fair offer. Harrison Global gets their merger, Summit Technologies gets fair value, and Cornerstone adds another solid investment to its portfolio." My father finally looked up from the documents. "We'd still maintain controlling interest. 70% stays with the family," I confirmed, "though Cornerstone would require board representation." "Meaning you," Derek said bitterly. "Meaning I attend the meetings you never thought I was good enough for." I smiled. Ironic, isn't it? The room fell silent as they absorbed the reality of their situation. Everything they'd mocked, my independence, my ambition, my business acumen, had led to this moment. "We need time to discuss this," my father finally said. "You have 1 hour," I replied. After that, I advised James to decline Harrison Global's offer and seek other buyers. They filed out, leaving me alone with James. "That was quite a show," he said admiringly. "Though I suspect this is just the beginning." I nodded, looking out at the city below. They thought they were teaching me a lesson all those years ago. They never realized they were giving me the motivation to surpass them all. The next hour would change everything. The family that had dismissed me was about to become my business partners, whether they liked it or not. And I had a feeling they really wouldn't like what came next. Exactly 1 hour later, my family returned to my office. Their faces told the story before they spoke. They'd realized they had no choice. "We accept your terms," my father said, each word seeming to cause him physical pain. I didn't smile. Instead, I pulled out the final contracts, already prepared. "Sign here and here," initial each page. As they signed, I thought about the journey that had led to this moment. 3 years of working in silence, building something they couldn't dismiss or diminish. 3 years of listening to their mockery while knowing that someday everything would change. "One more thing," I said as they finished signing. "I want the Harrison family estate." My mother, who had been silent until now, gasped. "The house? But that's been in the family for generations." "Exactly." I met my father's eyes. "The house where you told me I'd never succeed. Where you made bets on my failure. I think it's fitting that it becomes mine. Don't you?" "That's spite," Derek spat. "Pure spite." "No," I corrected him. "That's business. The Harrison way, remember? Take what you want and never show weakness. Isn't that what you taught me?" My father's hand trembled as he signed the transfer deed for the house. 30 years of building his empire, and in one morning, his failure daughter had taken control. "The board meets next Tuesday," I said, gathering the signed documents. "I'll expect full financial reports and operational details before then. You're really going to do this? Vanessa asked. Join the board of the company you refuse to work for. I smiled. Oh, I'm not joining the board. I'm chairing it. The silence that followed was deafening. As Cornerstone's managing partner, and now Harrison Global's largest individual shareholder, I'll be taking over as chairman of the board. I handed them each a folder. Here's my plan for restructuring the company. We'll be making some changes. Derek flipped through the documents, his face growing redder by the page. This is a complete overhaul. You can't just come in and... I can and I will. I cut him off. Harrison Global has been underperforming for years. Your management style is outdated. Your investment strategies are conservative to the point of stagnation, and your corporate culture is toxic. How dare you? My father started, but I held up my hand. Your return on investment is half the industry average. You've lost major clients to more innovative firms. The only reason you're still afloat is family name recognition. I leaned forward. That changes now. And I suppose you think you can do better. Vanessa sneered, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her fear. I don't think. I know. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall screen lit up with Cornerstone's performance metrics. These are our returns over the last 3 years. Compare them to Harrison Global's. The numbers told the story better than words ever could. Cornerstone had consistently outperformed not just Harrison Global, but most of our competitors. This is what success looks like, I said quietly. Real success, not the kind you measure in corner offices and country club memberships. My father stared at the screen, then at me, seeing me clearly perhaps for the first time. You really did it, didn't you? Build all this on your own. No thanks to any of you. I stood up and walked to the window. You know what the difference is between us. You built Harrison Global to prove something to the world. I built Cornerstone to prove something to myself. And now you want revenge, Derek said bitterly. I turned back to face them. If I wanted revenge, I'd dismantle Harrison Global piece by piece. Instead, I'm going to save it. Transform it. Make it better than it ever was under your leadership. Why? My mother asked softly. Because unlike you, I understand that success isn't about destroying others to elevate yourself. It's about creating something meaningful. I pressed my intercom. Sophie, please send in the executive team. The doors opened, and 6 people entered. Cornerstone's top executives, each an expert in their field. People I'd hired not for their family connections or social status, but for their talent and vision. Meet your new management team, I announced. They'll be overseeing the integration of Harrison Global into the Cornerstone family of companies. You're absorbing us, my father's voice cracked. Merging, I corrected. Though given the disparity in size and performance, it's more of an acquisition. Derek stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. I won't work for my little sister. You're right, I agreed. You won't. Your position is being eliminated, effective immediately. Vanessa's too. They stared at me in shock. You can't fire us, Vanessa protested. We're family. Exactly what you told me 3 years ago when I wanted to start my own firm. Funny how that works both ways now. My father remained seated, looking suddenly very old. And me? You'll retain an advisory position, non-executive. I softened my tone slightly. You built something significant, Dad, but you let pride and arrogance blind you to its flaws, and to my potential. He nodded slowly, decades of certainty crumbling around him. The Harrison name will continue, I assured them. but it's time for new leadership. Leadership that understands that true success isn't about domination. It's about creation. One by one, they left my office, their worlds forever changed. Only my mother lingered behind. The family dinner next Sunday, she said hesitantly. Will you still come? I thought about all the dinners where I'd sat quietly, enduring their judgment and mockery. Yes, but things will be different now. Because you won, she asked. Because I succeeded, despite all of you. After they left, I sat in my office as the sun set over the city. Sophie brought in a bottle of champagne, the same vintage my father used to proudly serve at family functions. Congratulations, she said, pouring 2 glasses. Though somehow I don't think this is how they imagined bringing you into the family business. I laughed, taking a sip. No, I imagine they pictured me in a junior position, working my way up through their approval. Instead, you bought your way in from the top. Not bought, I corrected. Earned. Every penny, every client, every success, I earned it all. My phone buzzed with a message from James Morton. Brilliant performance today. Your grandmother would have been proud. I smiled, remembering the woman who'd believed in me when no one else did. Who'd left me the seed money to start Cornerstone, swearing me to secrecy until the time was right. To Grandma Rose, I raised my glass. Who taught me that success isn't about proving them wrong? It's about proving yourself right. The next morning, I arrived early at Harrison Global's offices, soon to be renovated and rebranded. The security guard did a double take when I used my new key card. In the executive suite, I found Derek and Vanessa clearing out their offices, shooting me venomous looks as I passed. My father's office, my new office, still held the trappings of his reign. Photos of deals closed, awards won, the carefully curated image of success he built. I set down my briefcase and opened the curtains, letting in the morning light. On the desk, I placed a single framed photo. Me at 22, fresh out of college, standing in front of the tiny office where Cornerstone began. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about the corner office or the family name. It was about having the courage to believe in yourself when no one else would. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Harrison? The board is ready for your first meeting. I smiled, straightening my jacket. Time to show them what real success looks like. On my way, I replied, taking one last look around the office that had once been the symbol of everything I couldn't achieve. Now it was just another room in my growing empire, an empire built not on family connections or inherited privilege, but on determination, vision, and the burning desire to prove that success comes in many forms. And sometimes the sweetest success is the kind they never see coming.